In this video, we're going to talk about the difference quotient. There are two forms of the difference quotient. This one that we're going to talk about first is based on the slope formula for 2 points. The distance or the difference quotient is f of x minus f of a over x minus a. We get this based on 2 points. We have the points x comma f of x, because remember f of x is another way of writing y, and the point a, f of a. So if you take a look at our graph down here, you can see that I have point A, and if I go up from the x-axis to A, and I look to the left, that dot has a y value of f of a. Looking to the right, I go to the value x on the number line on the x-axis, and as I go up, I realize that point is across from the y value f of x. So my rise is f of x minus f of a over x minus a. Now this difference quotient can be written in a different form depending on how we set up our 2 points. So this one is based on just simply writing those same 2 points in a different way. So let's look down here at our graph, and now what I have is I have the x value, and as I go up to the first point, it is across from the y value of f of x. But then I pay attention to the fact that the distance between x and the next point, if I go horizontally, that distance I'm going to mark with h. So the next point here that I see is simply the x value plus the distance of h, or x plus h. Now if that x value is x plus h and I go up to the point, I will see that the y value across from it is f of x plus h. So our difference quotient in this format is simply f of x plus h minus f of x over h. So what we are expecting you to be able to do is, given a function, be able to substitute it into the difference quotient and simplify your answer. So we're going to start with this first sample. We're going to use the first style of the difference quotient. So my f of x that I'm going to use is x squared minus 3x plus 4. So I'm going to start with f of x in the formula. F of x, I'd simply write the function. So I'm going to write x squared minus 3x plus 4 minus f of a. Well, f of a means take the value a, plug it in everywhere you see an x in the same function. So now I have a squared minus 3a plus 4. And all of this is over x minus a. So my job now is just literally start to simplify and see what I've got here. So I'm going to start by distributing the second minus. So I actually have x squared minus 3x plus 4 minus a squared plus 3a minus 4. Again, all of this is still over x minus a. Now immediately I see that I have a positive 4 here and a minus 4 here, so they're going to come out to be 0. So they're going to cancel each other out. So now I'm going to look and see what I have left. I have x squared minus 3x minus a squared plus 3a. So you have to do a little thinking here to see how could I move these around in such a way that I might be able to simplify. So I'm going to go ahead and put the x squared minus a squared first, because it's looking like it might be a difference of squares somehow. So let's take the minus 3x, and then that gives me plus 3a. And all of this is over x minus a. Now I can do some factor by grouping. It won't exactly work as normal, but I'm going to show you a little trick here. I basically have, that's going to be a term, and this will be a term when I'm finished. So remember that minus sign, I'm going to make it negative 3x. So we'll start the process, and x squared minus a squared doesn't really have anything I can factor out, so I'll just write it as is with a 1 in front. The second one I could factor out a negative 3, and I'm left with x minus a. Ooh, that's looking promising. Over x minus a. Now, at this point, I do realize that x squared minus a squared is a difference of squares. So why don't I just do this? Let's break up the first one into x minus a times x plus a minus 3 times x minus a. So now I realize that this x minus a in this term and this x minus a in the second term are technically greatest common factors because I have two separate terms and they show up in both. So I'm going to factor out the x minus a, and that leaves me x plus a minus 3 over x minus a. So these are going to cancel. So my final answer that I'm actually going to input is this. X plus a minus 3 would be my final simplified answer. Now let's take a look at the other difference quotient. F of x plus h minus f of x over h. We're going to use the same function. It's the same idea. I'm going to start with the f of x plus h. So the x plus h that is in the parenthesis next to the function f must go in everywhere I see an x in my function. So I have x squared minus 3x plus 4. So I put x plus h in the first parenthesis. I put x plus h in the second parenthesis. Now, minus f of x. So minus f of x, which is just the defined function, x squared minus 3x plus 4. So now my job is to do all the simplification, following through with all of my basic algebra skills. So first, x plus h squared. So I'm multiplying out the two binomials, x plus h times itself, and I will end up with x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. And then I'm going to distribute the minus 3. So minus 3x minus 3h, bring down the plus 4. Now the second set, minus x squared plus 3x minus 4. Okay. All of this at this point is still over h. So now I just need to do as much simplifying as I can. So the first thing I notice is that I have a positive x squared here and a minus x squared here. So they cancel each other out because they equal 0. I see I have a minus 3x and a positive 3x, so those cancel each other out. And I have a positive 4 minus 4, which equals 0, so they're canceling each other out. So once I've done all that, I can see what I have left. So I have 2xh plus h squared minus 3h. So I'll just write them in that order. All over h. Now I'm looking at the h squared. If I put it in the front, I know that I wouldn't be able to factor the trinomial, but the more important thing is I notice they all have an h in each term. So I'm going to factor out h. That leaves me 2x in the first term. H squared divided by h is h. And minus 3h divided by h is minus 3. H's cancel, and we are done. There's nothing else you can do. We are simplified. 2x plus h minus 3.